Good morning. We will be continuing with the OCD approach, that is the orbital correlation diagram approach, and we will talk about cyclodecision reactions to start with. We have already done an example on the dimerization of ethene. We will do the second example of the famous DA cyclodecision reaction, that is your 4 plus 2 pi cyclodecision reaction. Now you know this thing that OCD approach is based on the Woodward-Hoffmann law of conservation of orbital symmetry, which suggests that when transforming from reactant to products, the symmetry of the orbital remains conserved. If you're talking about thermal reactions, the ground state orbital of the reactant's symmetry should correlate or match with the ground state orbital product's symmetry. And if it is a photochemical reaction, the symmetry of the reactants up to first excited state in the reactant and product should match. That's the key of working out an OCD approach and gauging whether a particular reaction is thermally or photochemically allowed. Right. Now let's start with the Diels-Alder cyclodecision reaction. You know, Diels-Alder cyclodecision reaction is a 4 plus 2 cyclodecision reaction between a butadiene and an ethene molecule, and you know that once they combine with one another they form a cyclohexene molecule. You know how to draw the products. If you remember, we just used to move the bonds and we could end up in the products. Right. The butadiene has, this is the reactant part, the butadiene had 4 pi electrons corresponding to butadiene. That means in the reactant 4 pi electrons of butadiene, that means 4 pi molecular orbitals of the reactants would be coming from butadiene, out of which 2 pi from butadiene would be bonding and 2 pi from the butadiene would be anti-bonding molecular orbital. So 4 electrons coming from butadiene in the reactant and 2 electrons coming from ethene in the reaction. Okay, the 2 electrons which are coming from ethene, this is from, of course, butadiene. The 2 electrons coming from ethene should make 2 molecular orbitals, and of course those 2 molecular orbitals would be pi. 1 pi would be what? 1 pi out of which will be bonding molecular orbital, and the second pi would be anti-bonding molecular orbital. Hence, my reactant side should have 6 molecular orbitals. And how are the 6 framed? 4 will be, out of the 6, 4 molecular orbitals are coming from butadiene and 2 molecular orbitals are coming from ethene. Right? This is the reactant. This is the reactant. Okay. Now regarding placing these reactant orbitals on the energy axis, of course there are, in the bonding side there are 3 bonding orbitals, 2 coming from butadiene and 1 coming from ethene, and in the anti-bonding side there are 3 molecular orbitals, 2 coming from butadiene and 1 coming from the ethene molecule. How do I place them on the energy axis? The lowest or the most stable bonding molecular orbital out of these 3 molecular orbitals should be one in which there is a bonding overlap in all the orbitals. Now since butadiene is a 4 electron component and 2 pi bonds are conjugated with one another, all the p lobes having the same sign on one face of the molecule would be more stable because there will be a positive overlap between them, there will be a bonding overlap. Hence, the most stable orbital in the reactant side would come from butadiene's bonding molecular orbital. Now next in energy is either the butadiene's psi2 or ethene's pi1. Now if it is butadiene's psi2 of butadiene has 1 node, pi of ethene has 2 nodes. Now we can vary this thing. We can place either butadiene's psi2 above pi and will not change the overall course of the reaction. We'll discuss them very soon once we draw the molecular orbitals. And once you draw the molecular orbitals, let's see how on the product sides we should draw the molecular orbitals. If you look here, I can say, and in the product, how many new bonds are formed? As you can see, during the course of the reaction, this pi bond broke and formed a sigma bond. That means this is one sigma bond. This pi bond broke and formed a sigma bond. That means this is another sigma bond. And this pi bond got converted into the another pi bond. Therefore, in the product side, I have 2 sigma bonds which are formed. I have 1 pi bond which is formed, right? And therefore, corresponding to 2 sigma bonds, I should have 4 sigma electrons, and therefore that would mean that I should have 4 sigma molecular orbitals. And if it has 4 sigma molecular orbitals, out of those 4 sigma molecular orbitals, 2 sigma should be bonding and 2 sigma should be anti-bonding in nature, right? So this is the contribution which the sigma electrons will make on the product side. If we talk about the pi bond, since one pi bond is formed, one pi bond should have how many pi electrons? It should have 2 pi electrons. That means 2 pi molecular orbitals will be formed, and out of those 2 pi molecular orbitals, which on the product side will be there, 1 pi will be bonding and 1 pi will be anti-bonding. So this is the division of molecular orbitals once it comes to the reactant and the product side. What we have done, we are known that a Diels-Alder reaction is a reaction between butadiene and ethene. These two add on to one another and form a cyclohexene molecule. Butadiene's 3 pi bonds are involved. Therefore, 4 electrons coming, or 2 pi bonds coming from butadiene, that means 4 electrons coming from butadiene making 4 pi molecular orbitals, out of which 2 will be bonding and 2 will be anti-bonding. 2 pi electrons coming from ethene, that means 2 molecular orbitals, 1 bonding, 1 anti-bonding. Therefore, out of the 6 molecular orbitals which will be constructed in the reactant side, 3 would be bonding, 2 coming from butadiene, 1 coming from ethene, and 3 will be anti-bonding, 2 coming from butadiene, 1 coming from ethene. Now how do I place them on the energy axis? This we'll talk about subsequently, just when we draw the molecular orbitals. Right, if you consider the product, we've seen that 2 new sigma bonds are formed and a pi bond was formed. Since 2 new sigma bonds were formed in this case, that means 2 sigma bonds will contribute to 4 sigma electrons, will contribute to 4 sigma molecular orbitals, out of which 2 will be bonding and 2 will be anti-bonding. Similarly, 1 pi bond will mean 2 pi electrons, that means 2 pi molecular orbitals, out of which 1 will be bonding and another 1 will be anti-bonding. This is how we draw the reactants, or this is how we construct the reactant side and the product side. Now next step in the OCD approach is to draw the molecular orbitals. Let's draw the molecular orbitals. Right, we'll draw the reactant molecular orbitals and we'll draw the molecular orbitals corresponding to the product, first reactant side and then towards the product side. Okay. On the reactant side, I know I have 2 reactants. One is my butadiene molecule and another one is the ethene molecule. On the product side, I know I have a cyclohexene ring. Right. Now in drawing the reactant molecular orbitals, remember I have to draw 6 molecular orbitals corresponding to butadiene, 6 molecular orbitals corresponding to the reactant system, 4 coming from butadiene, 2 coming from ethene. I have to draw 6 molecular orbitals corresponding to cyclohexene, 4 contributed by these 2 sigma bonds, that is 4 sigma electrons, and 2 coming from the pi bond. Right. Let's first of all draw the reactant molecular orbitals. In drawing the reactant molecular orbitals, I'll start from the bottom. Let's make this customary that you start drawing molecular orbitals from the bottom. Okay. I assume that the most stable orbital is one in which all butadiene's p orbitals are having same sign. Let's say this is the first, let me call this as psi1. I'll name 4 molecular orbitals contributed by butadiene as psi1, psi2, psi3 and psi4, and I'll name 2 molecular orbitals contributed by ethene as pi1 and pi2. Right. According to me, the most stable orbital should be one in which all the 4 orbitals of butadiene are conjugated. Since all the 4 orbitals are conjugated, there should be no node between them, so this is my most stable orbital. The second orbital should be one in which either I can draw butadiene molecule like this. Let's say this is the ethene part. I'm not mentioning ethene part because ethene part is as such. The molecular orbitals are contributed by butadiene. I know psi2 should have one node should come here. We know how to draw the molecular orbitals corresponding to butadiene, right? And then the third, psi3. How do I draw psi3? This orbital, then the third orbital, this orbital is coming from ethene. Since it is coming from ethene, I need to draw only the ethene molecular orbitals. I'll skip the butadiene part. So this is my pi molecular orbital. Remember, ethene's first molecular orbital has 0 node. That means all the above face, that means both the p orbitals of the above face should have same sign. Next, we'll reason why we have drawn orbitals like this. Next, let's say I draw psi3 star and I know it should have 2 nodes. How do I draw psi3 star? I draw the molecular orbitals corresponding to psi3 star. This is the one. If it is psi3 star, it should have 2 nodes. Where do I draw 2 nodes? One here. Remember symmetric leaving. This is positive, node comes negative, and this one is positive. This is how the orbital picture will look like. Right. then I assume that the next orbital should be corresponding to the ethene molecule in which you have one node. So this should be, if this is pi 1, this should be pi 2 and star, and since this is pi 2 should have one node. Where will the one node come? Here, of course. So this is the sign of the molecular orbital, and last molecular orbital is the 1, and the last molecular orbital should be 1, which should be the psi 4 of butadiene. Of course, psi 4 star, it has 3 nodes. Where do I draw the 3 nodes? The 3 nodes should come here. So if it is positive, negative, this should be the shape of the orbitals. Now this was the energy axis, tapering down starting from the E1. After 3 molecular orbitals, I should have the 0 of the energy, right? And lower 3 orbitals should be what? Bonding, and the upper 3 orbitals should be anti-bonding in nature, right? Okay, we draw the molecular orbitals of the reactant. Remember, I told you that in the reactant system 4 orbitals are contributed by butadiene. Can we locate those 4 orbitals? Psi 1, psi 2, psi 3 star, and the psi 4 star. These are the 4 orbitals contributed to butadiene, and 2 orbitals are coming from ethene. Now the question is, how have I arranged the orbitals on the energy axis? My consideration was the most stable orbital is that of the butadiene, in which all the p orbitals are conjugated. That means no node is there. So this is more stable than this one, right? So that's why, obviously, because it has 2 conjugated pi bonds, so this should be more stable than the other one. Therefore, this is at the low value of energy as compared to this one. Now comparing this and this may be somewhere similar in energy, because this has 1 p bond which is in bonding, and this is the other pi bond which is having a bonding overlap, and 1 node is there. It has only 1 pi bond which has a bonding overlap. So we consider 2 pi bonds with a bonding overlap probably more stable than 1 pi bond having a bonding overlap. Anyways, even if you raise this orbital here and put this orbital down, that means if I place pi 1 below psi 2, that also will not vary the course of the reaction. That means it will not vary that under what reaction conditions the reaction is occurring, right? How about the 3 anti-bonding molecular orbitals? If you remember, I told you that 4 molecular orbitals are contributed by butadiene, out of which 2 are in bonding and 2 are in anti-bonding. And when we talk about these 2 anti-bonding orbitals, these are these orbitals, and 1 anti-bonding orbital was contributed by ethene. Okay, now how have I placed them in energy axis? See, this butadiene orbital at least has one region where there is a bonding overlap, so more stable. Here it has no region, the ethene molecule doesn't have a bonding overlap. And last, the most unstable orbital is that there are extensive nodes and no region is there where there is a bonding or a conjugation present. Hence this is how we have kept these orbitals on the energy axis. This observation of keeping the orbitals on the energy axis basically stems or roots from the fact that the more conjugated orbitals, the more conjugated p orbitals are present, the stable the system would be. Alright. Now let's focus on the product side. So once we focus on the product side, the product is what? The cyclohexene system, 2 new sigma bonds, 4 sigma orbitals, and out of those 4 sigma orbitals, 2 sigma will be bonding, 2 will be anti-bonding, 1 pi orbital, 2 pi, 1 pi bond, 2 pi molecular orbitals, 1 pi bonding and 1 pi anti-bonding. And now this placing these orbitals on energy axis is comparatively simple, because once we take these sigma orbitals on the bonding side, remember in the product molecule there are in the bonding side 2 sigma orbitals, and in the bonding side there is 1 pi orbital, and we know that sigma bonding is always more stable than pi bonding. And conversely, on the anti-bonding side we have 2 sigma antibonding orbitals and 1 pi antibonding orbital, and we know that pi antibonding is always more stable than the sigma antibonding. Therefore, the energy on which these orbitals are to be placed is simple. First 2 orbitals on the bonding side will be sigma and then pi, and in the anti-bonding orbital first will be pi star followed by the 2 sigma star orbitals. Okay, let's draw these orbitals. Remember, again, while drawing this orbital, on the bonding side the product molecular orbitals are shown on lower energy as compared to the reactant orbital. So if this is at this value of energy, the product should be shown down. So you have to draw sigma orbital, which is the sigma bond which is formed. This one. So I'll draw the orbital in this fashion. see, and this is the pi bond. The first sigma orbital, the second sigma orbital. Again, if this is the value of energy, this is the value of energy, it is drawn down. So I'm drawing it a bit lower in energy. See how? Again, a low. This is the sigma bond which was formed. This is the sigma bond which is formed. This is the pi orbital. And third orbital, two sigma bondings. Third would be pi bonding. How do we draw the pi bonding? Again, see, I've drawn this orbital. Since I'm drawing pi bonding, I have to draw the pi orbital. Again, if this is the level, this is shown at a lower level in the reactant side. Right? So I've drawn three orbitals, 2 sigma, 1 pi. On the product side, again on the anti-bonding side, the anti-bonding molecular orbital of the products are drawn higher in energy as compared to the anti-bonding orbitals of the reactants. Hence, I should draw these orbitals like this. The first anti-bonding should be pi anti-bonding. As I've told you, pi anti-bondings are normally more stable than the sigma anti-bondings. And then a sigma anti-bonding orbital, something like this. And finally the last sigma anti-bonding molecular orbital, something like this. Right, so we have drawn 6 molecular orbitals on the product side. Of course, you have a pi bond here and you have a pi bond here. Now, let's start putting in the signs. Of course, if 4 molecular orbitals are coming from butadiene, from the cyclohexene, let me call this as phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4, phi 5 and phi 6. Since phi 4, phi 5 and phi 6 are on the anti-bonding side, I put the star sign here, the steric sign here. And since phi 1, phi 2, phi 3 are on the bonding side, there is no steric sign here. Since phi 1 is the most stable orbital, should have 0 node, phi 1 should have, phi 2 should have 1, phi 3 2, phi 4 star should have 3 nodes, phi 5 star should have 4 nodes, and phi 6 star should have 5 nodes, like this. Right, now putting the signs. Phi 1 star, no node. We are talking about the bonding molecular orbitals here. So there should be a bonding overlap. Plus sign here, plus sign here. Of course, I'm talking about pluses inside. Since because of the scarcity of space, I've written it outside. A plus sign here, a plus sign here. See, the most stable orbital. What are we focusing at? There is a bonding overlap between the 2 sigma orbitals. A bonding overlap between the 2 sigma orbitals, and between these orbitals also. This one and this one. There is similar signs. Between these orbitals also, this one and this one, there is a similar sign. That means throughout the molecule we are encountering a bonding overlap. Therefore, this should be the most stable orbital. Next comes psi 2. Psi 2 again is a bonding molecular orbital. That means both p lobes are adding in a bonding manner. But these signs here should be opposite. This has to be different from this one. This p orbitals are undergoing a bonding overlap. Similarly, these 2 p orbitals are undergoing a bonding overlap. However, there is the node. If you see here, and if you pass this axis here, from here to here, see, plus is encountering minus, plus is encountering minus, that means we have a node here, right? Then comes the pi molecular orbital. Now pi, in which there should be no node. So if it is psi 3, actually this orbital is a pi orbital, and it is the only first pi orbital of the cyclohexene molecule. Therefore I should write it as pi 0. So therefore it should be what? No node here. So it should not be phi 3 2. This is the wrong notion. It should be written as pi 0, because these 2 electrons are contributed by the ethene, by the single pi bond. And if single pi bond was there were 2 pi molecular orbitals. This is the first one having 0 node, and the next one will have 1 node. Okay. Therefore I should change the name. I should call this as psi 3 here, right? I should call this, I'm sorry, this should be called as, this should be called as pi. If this is pi 1, this should be pi 2 with a star sign and having 1 node. Where should I keep the 1 node? Here only. If this is plus, this would be minus, right? Then the psi 5. This should not be psi 5 now. This should be what? Psi 3. And this should be psi 4. If it is psi 3, it should have 3 nodes. If 2 nodes, sorry. If it has psi 4, it should have 3 nodes. This should be the orbital picture. Let's correct this out. What we have tried to do here is that we have named butadiene's 4 orbital as psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. I'm sorry, not butadiene. We have named the 4 orbitals corresponding to the 2 sigma bonds as psi 1, psi 3, psi 4. And we've named the 2 molecular orbitals corresponding to the double bond as pi 1 and pi 2. Right? So what is the shape of psi 3 and psi 4? And how do we put signs on psi3? Because psi3 is having 2 nodes and psi4 star is having 3 nodes. This is an antibonding molecular orbital, therefore there should be an antibonding overlap here and here. There should be an antibonding overlap here and here. Hence we are talking about 2 nodes. Where are these 2 nodes? One node here, one node here. These are the 2 nodes, but between these molecular orbitals here, positive is encountering positive, negative is encountering negative, there is no node. And the most unstable orbital is an antibonding overlap and a node in between also. See, 3 nodes. Where do we locate these 3 nodes? One node is here, see, another node is here, see, and the third node is between here. Positive encountering negative, negative encountering positive. So that is how we draw the molecular orbitals of the product of your cyclohexene molecule. Remember, 4 molecular orbitals are contributed by 2 sigma bonds, so we call these sigma bonds as phi 1, phi 3. We call the sigma orbitals as phi 1, phi 3, phi 2, phi 3 and phi 4. 2 orbitals are coming from the pi bond. We call these orbitals as pi 1 and pi 2, and this is how we name these orbitals and number these orbitals. And as with the OCD approach, if you remember, the next task that comes to our mind, so we've drawn the molecular orbitals of the reactant, we've drawn the molecular orbitals of the product, and remember, in the OCD approach, the first task was to draw the molecular orbital of the reactants and the molecular orbital of the products. The second task, while gauging a reaction with the help of OCD approach, whether it is thermally or photochemically allowed, is to work out that which symmetry operation should be chosen. Again, that symmetry operation should be chosen which should probably bisect the bonds which it formed and broken. Or, in simpler words, that symmetry operation should be chosen which should probably classify the reactant molecular orbitals and product molecular orbitals as symmetric and antisymmetric. Therefore, what we do here is, if you choose a cyclodecision reaction, largely speaking, in cyclodecision reactions, we take the mirror plane. Imagine if you choose this mirror plane of symmetry, and similarly this mirror plane, because the mirror plane or the axis or the symmetry operation which you use in the reactant as well as product should be similar. So if I'm choosing this mirror of plane of symmetry which is bisecting these 2 bonds also and bisecting this bond also. I'm choosing the same mirror plane of symmetry which is bisecting these 2 sigma bonds also and cleaving this pi bond also. Therefore, I have to choose this mirror symmetry operation, and let's see whether this symmetry operation can classify orbitals into symmetric and antisymmetric. Hence, this is the symmetry operation, the mirror plane of symmetry in the reactants, and this is the symmetry operation in the case of product. I'll pilot up the symmetry operation on all the molecular orbitals. Right, I've put the symmetry operation here, symmetry operation here, this mirror plane of symmetry, and let's classify orbitals. Right, in the case of butadiene, if you can see, in the case of butadiene, you have this mirror plane. That means I pass a mirror plane like this, and if you pass a mirror plane like this positive is encountering positive, this positive is encountering positive, similarly negative, 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 negative. Therefore, this orbital is symmetric with respect to this symmetry operation. Look at this orbital, simple. Positive, negative, positive is encountering negative, negative is encountering positive, negative is encountering positive. Therefore, this is a antisymmetric orbital. This orbital is antisymmetric with respect to this mirror symmetry operation. Pass a mirror here because this is the ethene's molecular orbital, the pi 1 of ethene. Positive is encountering positive, symmetric. Simple. And what is this one? Positive, positive, negative, negative. Therefore, this is symmetric. How about this one? Positive is encountering negative, opposite signs, antisymmetric. Positive is encountering negative, negative is encountering positive. This is antisymmetric. So it is very simple that we can, classify the molecular orbitals of the reactant as symmetric and antisymmetric, considering the symmetry operation. Right? Now let's look at the product side also. Same mirror operation has to be chosen. So what I'll do is I'll pass a mirror plane through this molecule like this. Okay. Let's say the operation. You pass a mirror plane like this, and once you pass the mirror plane, this orbital will face this one. Same signs are encountering. This positive is facing this positive. Same signs are encountering. That means since it is encountering the similar signs, this is a symmetric molecular orbital. Positive is encountering negative. Positive is encountering negative. Opposite signs, antisymmetric. Positive is encountering positive, symmetric. Positive is encountering negative, opposite signs, antisymmetric. Positive is encountering positive, negative is encountering negative, symmetric. Positive encountering negative, negative encountering positive, antisymmetric. So we've drawn the molecular orbitals of the reactant, we've drawn the molecular orbitals of the product, we've classified these molecular orbitals on the basis of a symmetry operation as symmetric and antisymmetric. One observation you should note while drawing this molecular orbitals is, while considering similar molecules molecular orbital. For example, in the case of butadiene, the 4 molecular orbitals of butadiene were psi1, psi2, psi3 star and psi4 star. Remember these 4 molecular orbitals? Now see how the symmetry property varies in this orbital. If first orbital is symmetric, I'm talking about only butadiene molecular orbitals. If first orbital is symmetric, the second would be opposite antisymmetric, third would be symmetric, and fourth would be antisymmetric. That means while drawing or while judging the molecular orbitals of a particular reactant system, going from one product orbital to the other orbitals, you encounter reversing symmetry. That means if the first molecular orbital is symmetric, the next higher energy would be antisymmetric, then symmetric, then antisymmetric. That means the property changes, the orbital property changes in the case of your in the case of your product. So that is how you work out that in the case of your orbital system, the property changes, alternate. Similarly, if we talk about the ethene molecule, there were 2 molecular orbitals corresponding to ethene. One was pi1, another one was pi2. See, if the pi1 is symmetric, the higher one should be alternate. That means it should be antisymmetric. And the same holds true for your product molecular orbitals also. Consider your 4 product molecular orbitals corresponding to the 2 sigma bonds. It was psi1, psi2, psi3 star and psi4 star. What I'm saying, if the first molecular orbital is, let's say, symmetric, the next one has to be antisymmetric, next one symmetric, and last antisymmetric. See alternating symmetries. Again, if you consider 2 pi molecular orbital, if one is symmetric, the other one has to be antisymmetric. So even if you don't, check the symmetry operations, similar type of molecular orbitals would correspond to similar kind of molecular orbitals will always correspond to alternating symmetry properties as far as the molecular orbitals are concerned. Now one more thing which is left for this reaction to check whether this is thermally or photochemically allowed. We have done 3 things. What we have done is, we have seen that what are the reactants in this reaction. We have seen how many molecular orbitals of the reactant and how many molecular orbitals of the product will be formed. We've also seen how many molecular orbitals of the product will be formed. Then we have drawn the reactant molecular orbitals and we have drawn the product molecular orbitals. And finally, we have chosen a symmetry operation, applied the symmetry operation of these orbitals and classified them as symmetric and antisymmetric. The final part to check whether this reaction will be symmetric or antisymmetric, I need to draw the, now in order to draw the OCD diagram and the thermal conditions, what we need to do is that we need to draw the reactant molecular orbitals and the product molecular orbitals. We don't need to draw the molecular orbitals completely, only let's draw the molecular orbitals as if they are just as if they're just the simple lines. For example, let's say if I draw the energy axis on this side, here I draw the reactant, and here on this side, let's say I draw the product. I know my reactant is what, a butadiene, and an ethene. I know my product is what, a cyclohexene moiety. Okay, what are the molecular orbitals of the reactant? I was having psi1, psi2, pi1, psi3, pi4, pi3 and pi4. This was the molecular orbital. Psi1, psi2, pi, psi3, pi star, this is pi2, this is pi1, and this was psi4 star. These were the molecular orbital. This was the zero value of energy. If you remember, these were the bonding molecular orbitals and these were the anti-bonding molecular orbitals, right? Now the product side had what? Phi1, Phi2 and Pi1, Phi2, Phi3 star, Phi4 star, Phi1, Phi2, Pi1, Phi2 star, Phi3 star and Phi4 star. Remember? Okay. Now once you know this thing, all I need to do is to put the symmetry operations here. You remember the mirror plane of symmetry had Phi1 which was symmetric. And let's work out what I told you. The similar kind of molecular orbitals would have alternating symmetries. Of course, we know this is symmetric, this would be antisymmetric, this would be symmetric, this would be antisymmetric. If pi1 was symmetric, this would be antisymmetric. Of course, similar with the phi1 molecular orbital, if this was symmetric, this is antisymmetric, symmetric and antisymmetric. If pi1 was symmetric, this one was antisymmetric. You can check what we have done in the previous case. Again, see, I've drawn the molecular orbitals a bit on the bonding molecular side, lower the product molecular orbitals lower in energy as compared to the reactant molecular orbitals on the bonding side, and product molecular orbitals higher in energy as compared to the reactant on the anti-bonding molecular side. Let's check the correlation. If it is thermal conditions, or since it is thermal conditions, we have total of 6 electrons which needs to be accommodated in butadiene, and we have a total of 6 electrons which needs to be accommodated in cyclohexene. Under thermal conditions, first 2 electrons will come here, the next 2 electrons will come here, and the next 2 electrons will come here. Under thermal conditions, we will not have an electronic excitation, therefore this point is my ground state and all upper are the excited chain. Of course, excited state under thermal conditions is not propagated. Similarly, on the product side, first 2 electron will go to phi1, next 2 electron will go to psi2, next 2 electron will go to phi1. phi2 star, phi3 star and phi4 star will not be populated under thermal conditions. But if I want to check the correlation, see, S matches with S, fine, A with A, S with S. I can say the ground state molecular orbital of the reactants correlate with the ground state molecular orbital of the products, and hence I can say here that, see, psi12, psi22, I12 correlates with phi12, phi22 and phi12. Hence, this reaction is thermally allowed. Which reaction? That means my, therefore, Ba cycloaddition reactions are thermally allowed reactions, and that's why these are so common, so extensive. If you compare in the previous example with the previous example that we have done, in the previous example we have said that ethene dimerization was photochemically allowed, it was thermally forbidden, whereas in the case of Ba cycloaddition reaction we are saying it is thermally allowed. And that's why, since a reaction which is thermally allowed is far more common in occurrence as compared to a photochemical reaction, hence you find this reaction as a very common reaction in cycloadditions. Also, I can also say one more point which I need to focus and add here is, if you remember that when we did cycloaddition reactions, we said that there are 2 stereochemical modes of cycloadditions. One was superficial, one was interfacial. And normally speaking, the most common mode, if the geometry of the molecule permits rotation, the most common mode is the suprafacial mode. Therefore, if, please mark my words when I'm saying, if nothing is mentioned that which stereochemical mode is operative in a cycloaddition reaction, by default we are considering the suprafacial mode. I repeat what I'm saying. I have not mentioned during the discussion of the reaction conditions gauging that which stereochemical mode is operative, whether it is suprafacial or it is interfacial. By default, suprafacial mode is the most common mode. If the geometry of the molecule permits a suprafacial addition, this is the mode of addition which would be definitely followed. Therefore, if nothing is mentioned, if you are not mentioning the stereochemical mode, I am assumed to understand, or I understand that this is the mode, the suprafacial mode is the one which is followed here. If a reaction is following the interfacial mode, I will specially use the word interfacial in that cycloaddition reaction, right? So this is one way of checking it. The second way of checking it is the second way, or whether to check this reaction is, this was thermally allowed, to check whether this reaction is photochemically allowed or not. Again, I need to draw the OCD diagram, but now under photochemical conditions. Again, I need to draw the molecular orbitals corresponding to the reactants. What was my reactant? Butadiene, ethene. Molecular orbitals corresponding to my product. Which one was it? This is the reactant. This is the product. I want to draw the OCD approach. While drawing the OCD approach, I draw the reactant molecular orbitals. To start with, how do I draw the reactant molecular orbitals? On the ground state, I had what? Phi 1, Phi 2, Pi 1, Phi 3 star, Pi 2 star and Phi 3 star. This was the orbital. Phi 1, Phi 2, Pi 1, Phi 3 star, Pi 2 star and Phi 4 star. This is same what we have discussed just now also. And similarly on the product side, I had Phi 1, Phi 2, Pi 1 star. This is the zero of the energy, of course. This would be Pi 2 star, Phi 3 star and Phi 4 star. So Phi 1, Phi 2, Pi 1, Pi 2 star, Phi 3 star and Phi 4 star. The symmetry property would not change. It is similar. If this is symmetric, this is anti-symmetric, this is symmetric, this is anti-symmetric, this is symmetric, this is anti-symmetric. I have just reiterated what we have done previously. Similarly, if this one is symmetric, this would be anti-symmetric, symmetric, anti-symmetric. Remember alternating symmetries. If this is symmetric, this is anti-symmetrics. Now under photochemical conditions, I have to accommodate 6 electrons of the reactants and 6 electrons of the product. Under photochemical conditions, the 2 electrons of this valence HOMO molecular orbital would jump and will come here. Under photochemical conditions, again 1 electron of the HOMO of the product will jump and will come here. Therefore, while considering photochemical reaction conditions, remember we check the correlation up to first excited state. Okay, now in checking the correlation up to first excited state, see, S matches with S, fine. S matches A with A, fine. S matches with S, fine. But since we have to check the correlation up to this point, here there is a mismatch. Therefore, even if there is one mismatch, this is considered as a total mismatch. Hence, I can say Phi 1 2 for photochemical reactions, Phi 2 2, Phi 1 1, and Phi 3 star 1 do not correlate with Phi 1 2, Phi 2 2, Phi 1 1, and Phi 2 star 1. Hence, this reaction is photochemically forbidden. Again, if nothing is mentioned, I am talking about which stereochemical mode? I am talking about the superficial mode of cyclodation reaction. Right? So this is how we checked whether this reaction, whether this Diels-Alder reaction will be thermally loud or photochemically loud. So going back again and repeating what we have done. What we have done is we have understood what are the reactants in a Diels-Alder cyclodation reaction. We've understood what is the product of a Diels-Alder cyclodation reaction. We've understood which bonds are involved and breaking in the reactants, which bond are formed in the product. Since there were 6 electrons, 4 coming from butadiene, 2 coming from ethene, we've drawn 6 molecular orbitals of the reactants, and since 2 sigma bonds were formed in the product and 1 pi bond was formed, there were 6 molecular orbitals, 4 contributed by the 4 sigma electrons and 2 contributed by the 2 pi electrons. We have drawn the molecular orbitals. We choose in the next step a symmetry property or a symmetry operation that should classify these orbitals as symmetric and symmetric. Invariably speaking, in the case of cyclodation reactions, we choose the C2, we choose the mirror plane of symmetry as the preferred symmetry operation. Once we choose that, then we assign the orbitals as symmetric and antisymmetric, and in the final word we checked under thermal conditions, drawing the OCD diagram, whether this reaction was allowed or not. We have checked in the photochemical conditions, in drawing the OCD diagram, whether the ground state or the up to first excited state correlation was there or not. And in this particular reaction, that is the Diels-Alder cyclodation reaction, we've seen that it is the thermal conditions, or under thermal conditions this reaction is permissible. Again, if I'm saying nothing, that means this reaction is allowed under which stereochemical mode? The suprafacial stereochemical mode. If I had to specially mention in parafacial stereochemical mode, then only the considerations will be different, right? So with this, we've talked about 2 examples of cyclodation reactions with the help of the OCD diagram. Now the task for you is that next you have to by yourself, example 3, I'm not doing it, we will discuss this. If you have any problem, check, or you can say with the help of, the question is, with the help of OCD approach, the orbital correlation diagram approach, explain under which reaction conditions the superficial addition of hexatriene with ethene, again adding in a suprafacial manner, occur. So this is my question, that with the help of OCD approach I need to explain the reaction of hexatriene with ethene. Of course I know hexatriene is a 6 electron system, ethene is a 2 electron system. I can draw, since this is 6 pi electron, this is 2 pi electrons, I am considering a 6 plus 2 pi cyclodhesion reaction, and since 6 carbon atoms are the ones on which these 3 pi bonds are relocalized, 2 atoms are the one on which these 2 pi electrons are localized, therefore out of the total cyclic system that will be made is 6 carbon atoms of this system, 2 of this thing, that means an 8-membered ring. So how do we draw those 8-membered rings? With the help of arrows. You remember how we draw them, how we use these arrows. I'll end up in the formation of this cyclooctadiene molecule, right? And once you draw the cyclooctadiene molecule, I know that 2 sigma bonds are formed in this reaction, 2 pi bonds are formed in this reaction. So the reactant molecular orbital should have 6 molecular orbitals corresponding to hexatriene and 2 molecular orbitals corresponding to ethene, the total of 8 pi molecular orbitals. The product side, 2 new sigma bonds were formed, that means 2 new pi bonds were formed, that means 4 pi molecular orbitals will be formed, 2 bonding and 2 anti-bonding. And in the product side again, we have 2 new sigma bonds which are formed, that means 4 sigma orbitals, 2 sigma bonding and 2 sigma anti-bonding. Now your task is to check that whether this reaction is thermally loud or photochemically loud. Here I have specially mentioned that this is suprafacial. Even if I have not mentioned, you should have considered this reaction occurring in a suprafacial manner. So this is a task for you to do. I hope that you will do this task efficiently. Remember, it is a long process, but slowly and steadily you can build on the system. Right, now we'll talk about the OCD approach in the case of electrocyclic reactions. We know electrocyclic reactions are ones in which you have a polyene system which under reversible conditions cyclizes into the cyclic product. The simplest example of this one was the electrocyclization of butadiene molecule. Remember, butadiene is this molecule. This electrocyclized and led to the formation of, and this formed the cyclobutene molecule. If you remember, this was how we used to make the product. And even if you remember this thing, 2 particular modes of cycloadditions were followed here. The 2 particular stereochemical additions were followed here. One was your suprafacial, one was your condensatory mode of ring closure, when both the terminal lobes of the polyene, acyclic polyene system moved in the same direction, that is both clockwise or both anti-clockwise. And it was disrotatory mode when the terminal lobes of the polyene system in the acyclic component moved in opposite direction. That means the first lobe is moving in the clockwise direction, the second terminal lobe will be moving in an anti-clockwise direction, or vice versa. This was your OCD approach. Now this was your electrocyclic reaction. I want to check that whether a particular electrocyclic reaction is thermally loud or photochemically loud. Since I am talking about 2 stereochemical modes here, my consideration would be to consider the stereochemical, consider a symmetry operation that should correspond to a particular stereochemical mode.